I got home from the hospital a little later than I planned.
Okay. Commissioner Wilson, Commissioner Helfrey, Commissioner Jailing,
Here.
Commissioner Hudson, I think I see her down there, but
Here, I'm sorry.
that's okay. Commissioner Tripp, Commissioner Lawson, Commissioner Ferris,
Here, I'm here.
Commissioner Siebert,
Here.
Council Liaison Caratano.
Here.
Okay, thank you.
And as you can tell by the roll call, we now have 6 members, which makes a quorum of the commission. And the next item on the agenda was to discuss nominating a chair for the commission. Under the regulations associated with the commission, this typically happens at the start of the year. We delayed it a bit because of COVID-19 and just, I think it was expeditious to do such. And so tonight we do have 6 members, one of which is our city council liaison. And typically the chair is one of the citizen members representing one of the 8 wards. We can accept nominations from the floor, or we can, if you prefer, we could just appoint an acting chair tonight out of the citizen members, and we could wait until we have more members available. Really, I'm kind of open to any suggestions, given that we only have 6 of the 9 seated members. Thank you. Any thoughts?
Joe, I'm happy to just help with the facilitation of the meeting, if that helps, just given my background with Robert's rules. But I think that, it would be probably best for all the committee members that represent each of the wards to make the decision of the chair. So it sounded like you said you had 6 and 2 are missing tonight.
Well, hearing what Mr. Garitano just said, I have no objection, and if any of the commission members do not, I would turn the meeting over to Mr. Garitano, who does chair our Admin and Public Works Committee of the City Council and is Mayor Pro Tem. And then we can put the election of chair on our next meeting, and hopefully we'll have a few more members and we can get it complete then. So if there are no objections, I was going to turn it over to Mr. Garitano. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Vunich. And again, just happy to do that because I remember Councilmember Levitt, I think, served as co-chair too at a certain point in time before I got appointed. Okay, well then I will then be meeting facilitator here. So this is your meeting. So we'll move on to the agenda item number 4, approval of the minutes from the March 2nd meeting. And in order to approve minutes, we would need a maker of the motion for approval of the minutes and a second. And if we get that, then, if there's any question about the minutes or if there's some kind of change that needs to be made, anyone would be able to speak up at that time. So is there anyone that would like to make the motion for approval of the minutes from that March 2nd meeting? And just for your awareness, approving the minutes is perfectly fine, even if you were not in attendance in your role at that meeting. The city attorney has clarified that for council members before. You're simply just making a motion to approve the minutes. So if you do wish to approve, just raise your hand and then I'll look for you.
I will make a motion to approve.
All right, so we have Commissioner Helfrey making the motion. Is there a second on the motion? Second, if you could raise your hand.
I'll second it.
All right, Commissioner Jailing. So we have a motion on the floor for approval of the minutes. Is there anyone that has any questions or comments regarding the minutes? All right, seeing none, then all those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, anyone oppose or abstain? The minutes are approved. So now we'll move on to the next part of our agenda, which is item number 5, public comment. And Mr. Vunich or Mr. Newberry, could you advise if there's anyone from the public that would like to participate in the public comment portion of the agenda? And if they are, they should indicate by raising their hand on Zoom.
Mr. Garitano, there are no attendees tonight on the webinar, so we do not have anyone on the webinar. And we've not received any written comments to provide to you verbally tonight. But thank you for asking.
Thank you. So we'll close public comment and we will now move to item number 6 on the agenda, which is the 2022 Celebrate Wildwood event. And the first part A is the venue update for the 2022 event. So Mr. Vunich, I will hand it off to you.
Mr. Chair, with all due respect, could I request a motion to amend the agenda to move up item B, which we had started talking about? And then
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we just do have a request to change the order of the agenda. So again, we'll do it formally so we have it on record. If we can get a motion and a second for per Mr. Vunich's request to change the order so that we will do the promotion and the advertising. So again, just raise your hand if you wish to make that motion. All right, Commissioner Helfrey, I see your hand. And again, I apologize. I can only see a few people at a time on the screen, but I saw Commissioner Siebert. I believe you had your hand up for a second. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, well, therefore, we have a motion for the changing of the order of the agenda. And therefore, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All right. And therefore, any opposed or abstain? Okay, so we can go ahead and proceed, Mr. Vunich.
Thank you. I think we left it with Ms. Jelling asking a question of Ms. Ward regarding timing or something akin to that. So maybe if we could pick it up there again, and then we'll accept other questions. So thank you again.
I think the question was how many how long would we start in advance and how many ads would we do? And my response was that in 2017, we started about 5 weeks prior to the event. And the campaign consisted of organic posts, so posts that we did not put money behind. And I think we did about 4 per week on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. And then we did 10 days of, I just looked at my notes, we did 10 days of advertising prior to the event. So from the event out 10 days. And we did multiple posts for that. So it wasn't the same post that we had money behind for that entire 10 days. There were several, including a video.
Okay, so yes, at this point, are there any questions for Ms. Ward regarding what she's shared with us? Here is the opportunity for folks to ask questions.
Mr. Chair, I have a couple, if you don't mind.
Sure, go ahead, Mr. Vunich.
So Ms. Ward, the commission's been struggling over the last couple of months because we have to move the venue again based upon what we believe will be a construction project on the location where we've been for the last several years. Is that something that you could address as part of your campaign, just getting people to know that we're not where we were, we're going to be a little bit less visible, but it'll have all the same things and the fun, the activities, etc.?
Absolutely. If we can talk about recycling changes, I think we can do a venue change.
Sounds good. Well, then to the commission members, I would like your permission, and this could be by motion, second, and voice vote, to request a proposal from Ms. Ward to provide the this campaign in advance of our September 24th Celebrate Wildwood event. Thank you.
I will make that motion.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Helfrey. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, Commissioner Jailing has seconded the motion. So is there any other discussion regarding the motion or any other question? All right. So we have a motion on the floor. So all those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone oppose or abstain? Okay, that motion passes.
Thank you all.
All right. Well, there anything else for Miss Ward? Mr. Vunich, is there anything else that we have to ask of Miss Ward, or?
I don't think so. I just want to extend my appreciation for being here and taking the time.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Miss
Good night.
Ward. All right, good night. Okay, so now we'll resume our regular order of the agenda so that this way we can continue here. So we'll go back to item number A, the venue update. And I assume Mr. Vunich, is that you?
Yes, unfortunately, you're going to have to listen to me tonight. And I do want to make a comment with the permission of the chair. We have a lot of new faces on the commission, and typically we would like to do introductions so you know who's on the screen next to you or above or below you, so to speak. Obviously, with us getting started without a quorum in this. So I was thinking maybe before we end the meeting tonight, we could do that, Mr. Chair.
That is a great idea. I think that would be really good for the committee. I am, my perspective, I actually know everyone, so,
Yeah.
but I think it's helpful for the committee members to do that. So we'll do that. So please remind us, that we make sure we cover that so everyone has a chance to meet.
Thank you, sir. Well, with regards to the venue, I kind of alluded to this just a few seconds ago. We are going to be at a new location. The place that we had been that worked very well for us over the last several years is actually going to be a construction site if all the signs that we're seeing are indicating are true indicators. The location for the new commission members is here down in front of City Hall. We'll use several of the vacant lots around the parking garage and a portion of our Village Green site, which is immediately adjoining the City Hall on its western boundary. We had provided a layout of how we think that venue would work, and that was provided at our last meeting. And that was put together by our former superintendent of Parks and Recreation, Gary Cruz. Gary and I have been refining that before he left. And one of the items that came up is that with the growth in the food court area, as well as some of the vendors that we've seen in terms of increased interest, there may be a chance that we may have to limit the number of participants to, at least in terms of tents, to no more than 75 this year. How does that compare to 2021? We had just over 100. So the venue is going to be, it looks like a little smaller. Part of the reason, again, is the food court's grown in number of participants. We've gotten some very good initial responses from our past vendors. And in this particular case, we have to keep an area by the stage open so that people can have seating. And that's an area where typically with other events, we put tents there. So we have to keep kind of an open space, which limits the number. And that number almost corresponds to that 25 or so less booths. We'll have for you a revised layout for the May meeting, the next meeting of the commission. But I just wanted to give you a heads up that that's what we're looking at. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vunich. Is there anyone that has any comments or questions? I do see Ms. Helfrey with her hand up, so go ahead, Ms. Helfrey.
First of all, I just want to apologize for being late. I just got caught and didn't get home in time. But Mr. Vunich, I guess my question is, if we limit the number of vendors, then does that limit the number of people you think that will come that would sustain an increased number of food trucks? Does that make sense? Seems to me they would kind of go hand in hand. And so I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that. Thank you.
Ms. Helfrey, that's a very good question. And obviously, I think it's ultimately the commission's decision if we have to prioritize one sector of participants over another. But as you know, the music, the food, the beverages, the children's activities are always those things that seem to be the most popular, and we continue to hear the best compliments about. But we also have authors, we have crafters, we have artists, we have organizations, we have businesses. So eventually, once we start to get a feel for what we're seeing in terms of sustained interest, we may have to come back to you and say, here's how would you like to make this decision? And certainly there are ways that we could expand it, but we don't want to necessarily isolate a group of tents and not have them be part of the what I would consider the flow of the event. But at this stage, I'm just kind of giving you a heads up. I'm hoping that when I have the map revised for the May meeting, we'll be able to get closer to at least 80 or 90 tents, which would then make it much easier for us to have to make those decisions.
Ms. Helfrey, if you have any follow-up, or you're good with that?
I'm good with that. And of course, I know that you guys don't make these decisions off the cuff. And so I always defer to your expertise in all of this. I was just curious. So thank you for taking the time to answer my question.
My pleasure, ma'am. It was a good question. I appreciate it.
Anyone else have any questions or comments for Joe?
Yes, I do.
To discuss? Oh, Ms. Jailing, go ahead.
So my question, because I am new to this committee, when they apply, is it a first come, first serve, or how would you decide which ones you would cut? Or which ones? I mean, I don't know how many people apply, and I don't know how you decide who gets it and who doesn't. I just was curious about that.
Well, Ms. Jailing, that too is a good question. Oftentimes, as we approach the event, we have a good number of commitments and we have space for the commitments. It's inevitably that last couple of weeks before the event, we get people that said, I put it aside, forgot about it. I really like to be part of this, or it's something that we're missing that we'd like to have. And that's kind of throws everything into a bit of a jumble. How we prioritize, we send out invitations to past participants. So if you were to tell us this year, due to the constraints we're facing, you prefer to have, let's say, less of the organizations like MDNR, Missouri Department of Natural Resources, Missouri Department of Conservation, and more crafters and artists, then that's what we would do. So I think what I need to do for you for the May meeting is maybe put together last year's breakout of the participants in terms of the 100 or so, kind of group them into categories so you can see. And then that way, if we have to make those decisions, you'll have a little bit more information.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Mr. Siebert.
So I'm new to the commission and I've got a general question about going forward with the constraints you're speaking of. Does that mean from this point forward, because the construction site is not going to revert back to fallow ground, does that mean that going forward, this celebration is going to be in a constricted area? Or is there going to be a way to expand into the future somehow?
Well, through the efforts of City Council, inclusive of Mr. Garitano, we are in the process of approving a design and engineering contract for bidding to improve the Village Green, Phase 1. Phase 1 of Village Green will easily accommodate our Celebrate Wildwood event and anything else we could throw at it, so to speak. We've applied for a grant through the Missouri Department of Natural Resources. We're going to be applying for another grant through the Municipal Park Grant Commission here locally in St. Louis County, which all leads me to say that hopefully by 2023, we'll have money available to build Phase 1, which means it should be available for 2024. So I'd like to think that this year and then 2023 may be our years where we have to kind of do a lot of planning on the fly, so to speak, so that we can have the best event we can, but in what Mr. Siebert's called a constricted space. And for the May meeting, since we have so many new members, I'll have as part of your packet the Phase 1 plan for Village Green, so you can kind of see what our residents put together and then what our committees of City Council and our City Council ultimately decided upon. And Mr. Garitano, would you like to add anything about that? Certainly you're integral in it all.
I would only add, because I remember when we talked about this topic and the site, and I can't recall, so I apologize who brought it up, but there was interest in trying to do maybe a site visit to actually see the area that we're talking about right next to City Hall. And so I don't know if that did take place or if there's still interest, especially with all our new members here of the committee, to do that. So,
Well, I like that thought. Maybe our May meeting could be in person and we'll have the map of the Phase 1 plan and we could walk right out the front doors and be over there in less than a minute.
That'd be good.
yeah, I think that would be really helpful because, there probably is a better term, the geography of that area over there. And then, kind of a bit of a hill right by City Hall there to get to it. I think it's going to be interesting to see, to visualize the plan that you've put together. So, we want to, and an in-person meeting in May probably is a great idea just for everyone to get to meet each other in person and establish those relationships of this group that's going to work together. So I think that's good, Joe. Are there any thoughts on this by the commission members regarding that for May?
I'd be okay with that. I wouldn't be able to make it till 5:30 though.
And I think we probably could make an adjustment with the meeting time because we've moved them up early because of Zoom. But, since we're meeting in person, if people have to commute, we can come up with that. So it sounds like 5:30 would be a time, unless somebody else, or maybe a little later, 6 o'clock, or Ms. Helfrey, is that okay? I kind of saw your reaction.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm still catching up. Yeah.
At 5:30? Okay. Well, right now we'll pencil that in for May and we'll do a site visit as part of that meeting there, right next door to City Hall. Mr. Vunich, anything else?
Just one more thing, and thank you for asking, Mr. Garitano. As part of the packet, I included a concept plan for improved access between the front of City Hall to the Village Green site. If you've been by City Hall at any time recently, you've noticed that when you come to the end of Main Street and let's say make a left to go into the rear of the City Hall site by the community garden, that terminus there is kind of rough. There's a lot of bush honeysuckle. There's an area inlet for stormwater. There's a bit of a swale. There's a bit of a grade. So in your packet, as I mentioned, I put together through a park designer a proposal to basically improve access so that when we have the event, people can easily get to and from the Village Green area back to City Hall and vice versa. I think the key points of this is that it will clean up a lot of the, let's say, honeysuckle growth, both at that point on Main Street as well as in the area where we had planned to have the children's playhouses, the bounce houses, the pony rides, the Boy Scouts, etc. And so Travis was kind enough to present this on the screen. The dark area that looks like a path is a path that is approximately 8 feet in width, and it does meet ADA requirements in terms of grade. That's a key component of any design, so that someone in a wheelchair or someone with mobility issues can accommodate that grade and make it to the area where they choose. Also, part of this plan, on that common boundary line between City Hall and the Village Green site, we're going to propose to kind of clear out some of that undergrowth where the large trees are. Again, much of it is honeysuckle. And then we'll create a shaded area where we can put some picnic tables we already have in storage over in the parking garage. So people can go over there, watch their kids play, but sit in the shade on a comfortable picnic table. So this is the proposal that the department would like to bid with our parks contractor and get that work started as soon as possible. So tonight we presented it to you as part of the packet. I've given you a brief explanation. Certainly, Ms. Kristen Travis and I are available to answer any questions, but I would ask for a motion to support this design so I could forward it on to City Council for their consideration. Thank you.
I think you answered my question already because of timing, wanting to make sure that, you know, if you have to get a city council approval, and is this covered under the budget that we have, or are we looking for approval of the budget from another source from the council?
Well, I'm never one to play sleight of hand with any of the commission and particularly City Council, but since Village Green is a park property and it's going to improve access, I was actually going to use park maintenance funds to do this initial work and then not code it, so to speak, to the Celebrate Wildwood event.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because, you know, that question probably would come up anyway when it goes to council. And I think timing probably is of the essence, right? The earlier you can get it, the sooner you can get
Right.
someone to work on it. And, you know, so Mr. Vunich has asked for a motion in support of his request, but is there anyone that would like to go ahead and make that motion at this time? Or do you have questions that you want to discuss first?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Commissioner Hudson has made the motion. Is there a second on the motion? I see Ms. Helfrey with the second. So we've got the motion on the floor. And again, anyone have any questions regarding what Mr. Vunich has presented? All right, well then that's easy. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone oppose or abstain? All right, the motion passes. Mr. Vunich, you have your approval.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you all for your support of this.
All right, so the next item, I believe, is also you, Mr. Vunich, the parade themes and the voting results? Or
Yes,
theme update?
yes. Unfortunately, as I say, you're going to have to listen to me drone on tonight. Travis was here for social media and pulled Chris in to help me with the minutes and et cetera. So until we get our new superintendent, I guess I'm the best I can offer you. So saying that, over the last couple of meetings, we've been talking about the parade and the successes we had in 2021 and also the few concerns that arose given what we saw and what we experienced. We've made some decisions as the commission to do a better job on the front end, that being New Community Church, where we stayed the parade participants before the start, And one of those items is to actually use more of Manchester Road for that staging and to control access of parents dropping off children into that staging area. That's where we really struggled last year. Also, the commission identified that the front of the parade sometimes slowed the overall progress of the parade. And so we're working on solutions to that as a commission as well. As I've mentioned, we've talked about the parade the last couple of meetings, and the key component of that is we provided you the parade rules and asked you to take a review of those rules and see if there were anything that you would like to add or subtract. And so tonight we were just going to ask one more time if there's anything else that's been identified or that you identified that you'd like us to consider and include. And what I would hope to have in May is the final set of rules based upon our experiences in 2021 and the past successes we've had in previous years. So the floor is open, and Mr. Chair, thank you as always.
All right, as Mr. Vunich said, the floor is open. So do you have any questions or comments or thoughts that you may have? Ms. Helfrey?
So I have two things. Number one, I think if we put the council members at the back of the parade, then that would not slow us down. Sorry, Joe. Because all the glad handing, right? And then the other thing was just a question. We are for sure going to be at the church again this year. We are not going to go back to Schnucks' parking lot anymore. Is that correct?
Well, the parade is part of the event. The event is managed by the commission. So if you say we'd like to go back to Schnucks, we'll try to make that happen as best as possible. I think New Community Church worked okay. Like I said, it was more the front end that we struggled with. But I think we can address that by extending out Manchester Road to the west. But I guess I'll ask the commission, you tell the department, and we'll do what we can.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Ms. Helfrey, did you have any opinion about where we should start the parade, or are you fine with last year's location?
You know, I was okay with it. I will tell you, my opinion of it is skewed because as soon as we got out of a parking spot to start moving, we were stopping because the whole parade was stopping, and it was almost not going forward most of the time. So if the city thinks that we can solve that problem by backing this up further west on Manchester Road, that I think that's great. What I would hate to see happen is that the route gets so short that the people that are actually putting the time and effort into the parade, such as the cheerleaders or any kids that are in the bands or commissioners that have great floats, I would hate to see all of that work get smaller and smaller and smaller. So I'm just going to tell you though, I stick by what I said earlier. I think that Joe and the city employees have really, they are the experts at this. And so I would really defer to them on what they think is best. Those were just my questions, and that's it. Thanks.
Anyone else have any other opinions or thoughts about the parade start location? Okay, and I'll share just a comment, Ms. Helfrey, because I was in one of those golf carts and I had to pass some of my colleagues because they were going too slow. So I understand a little bit that frustration as well. And I think that, maybe with some more better awareness and, just whether we call it training or just instructions to those folks. And maybe it's a readjustment of where they are in the lineup. Then we could, probably learn from that. We'll learn from last year's experience,
Yeah, the Moulage Shrine guys were behind us, and they were, they couldn't go anywhere, really. They couldn't get up, and once they get almost enough room to kind of get going, then they had to stop. So yeah, I think we just need to just kind of reorganize maybe.
Okay,
Well, I do have something to add in that regard. Before Gary Cruz left, he did investigate with the golf cart supplier if they had ones that had no brakes. And those would be given to council members only.
I thought you were going
Also-
to, I thought you were gonna say that the golf carts were remote controlled, so you would manage us.
That'd be good.
All right, well, I don't see any other comments or hands up, but I think we've got some time to, if ideas do come forward on the parade start, so, and the themes there. All right, well, I guess, is there anything else, or do we go straight to other items, Mr. Vunich?
Well, there is one other thing. And again, I apologize to the new members. We're hitting you kind of hard with a lot of information. But at the last meeting, the commission members were asked to consider the theme of the parade. And there were a number of suggestions made by the commission members. Those suggestions were then forwarded to you all, new members, as well as members that were carried over. And we asked that you vote. And as part of tonight's packet, we gave you a tally sheet of what we saw as those that had interest. And the ones that received votes were Wonderland of Wildwood, Celebrate the Outdoors, Celebrate Nature, and Explore Wildwood. I provided in the commentary that we only had 4 members vote, one of which identified 3 potential themes. And so that's why the numbers are, if you only have 4 voting, why do we have obviously 6 votes? But I felt that was the best approach and explain that. So tonight, if the commission is ready to pick a theme, the department would offer no objection. If you like to wait, certainly we would probably press you on at the May meeting to make a decision then. And again, we're all available for comments or any questions. Thank you.
All right, regarding Mr. Vunich's request on themes, is there anyone that has any strong opinions regarding the themes there? Or how we should proceed? Anyone passionate about any of the themes there?
I don't even remember which one I voted for.
I'll vote for Explore Wildwood. And I hope I wasn't the one that voted 3 times, Joe.
So that one is a tie. That actually Explore Wildwood and Wonderland of Wildwood were the
I
two
think
that
I
tied.
voted Land of Wildwood.
So we have those there. Let's see if there's anything that comes up in discussion. So Mr. Siebert's got his hand up.
So I have to confess that I was the one that voted 3 times. But the reason I voted 3 times was I thought it was appropriate to bring some of these themes together. So, you know, we're all about nature, we're all about the outdoors in Wildwood. And so really what my vote was to take 3 themes: Celebrate Wildwood, Celebrate Nature, and Explore Wildwood, and kind of conflate them. So just as an FYI. If it's about the outdoors and it's about nature, then we should explore Wildwood. That was why it happened, just as an FYI.
So maybe a suggestion with that, because I think it kind of ties in with a number of the themes that have votes. Maybe that is, you know, kind of combine the, you know, Celebrate the Wildwood Outdoors or something like that. I mean, I think the theme is great because we have a lot of recreational activities that you can do in Wildwood Outdoors, right? We're known in the area for our trails, the parks, and especially the parks, because we have we're fortunate we have a state park, we have a county park, we have our Wildwood parks. And, I think that, and obviously the trail network throughout the city. So I think it gives people ideas of, as they, for the parade, and the event, how do you elevate and kind of help promote what Wildwood is like? Maybe we'll have an Al Foster trail float or something like that, or a zombie trail, if you're familiar with that one. So just, I do think there's some potential to combine maybe some of those themes to get the spirit of what you're all sharing here. Ms. Helfrey?
So our event is called Celebrate Wildwood. And so if we use that as a theme, I think it's kind of repeating itself. I think if you use Explore Wildwood along those lines with the parks, you could really expand on that. You could, provide the maps that we have and really kind of make, take an explorer kind of a theme about it with all the parks, explore the trails, explore. So, I will go rent a safari outfit if I need to, but I think that would work. So.
I think so. And it just struck me that we did an event, and Joe, you could describe it best, but where folks have kind of like the map and they go out and do it themselves. And so maybe leading up to Celebrate Wildwood, we can have an event where people are completing it. And maybe when they come to Celebrate Wildwood, they can collect something to recognize them checking off the locations. Just a thought. I think we all start throwing ideas. So Joe, you could elaborate more on what I'm talking about.
Yes, we have a very large group of people that do geocaching, and we've done those types of events during COVID-19 when people couldn't get together. But, Mr. Garitano's suggestion got me thinking, okay, one of the first locations they have to find is the venue grounds. So we already get them introduced. So when they come on Saturday, they're not wandering around like, where is it? I've been here. So we could do something like that. As Ms. Helfrey mentioned, we could get them to many of the parks, maybe some of those that they don't normally go to, like Battler State Park. People still tell me, I didn't know that was in Wildwood, and that kind of thing. So yeah, we could build a lot of excitement about the event, I think, using the appropriate theme and get people interested in the event long before it even it happens. So I really like that.
It might be like some type of scavenger hunt that takes place over the summer that, people are looking for a certain, whatever it is, a marker or something to say they visited that location, and then kind of culminates on Celebrate Wildwood, ties in the theme that we're trying to do.
Totally see Joe in a safari outfit with like a big gray handlebar mustache and a big magnifying lens. I totally see that.
You talk about Joe Vunich, I hope.
Joe Vunich.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Travis and Kristen will tell you, I already have the magnifying glass because I can't see these plans anymore. So.
Mr. Newberry, you got your hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just add to that idea, the discussion we had earlier in the meeting regarding Ms. Ward's campaign. Part of that campaign could be the event or the lead up that you've described to build the interest.
Kind of on that, the idea with the snowman where they had people send in a picture of yourself with a snowman.
Yeah.
That could start on Facebook and Instagram way ahead of take a picture of yourself in front of blah, blah, blah. Explore Wildwood. I think that would be fantastic.
Well, I guess, we've got some ideas flowing right now, and Joe, you mentioned we've got probably another month before we can finalize it, but if everyone wants to think about it between now and the next meeting, and certainly try to get it to Joe and Travis before the meeting, or maybe a week or so before, if you have other ideas that you think about or that you talk about with people, that might be helpful. And then Joe and Travis can package it together to share with us at the next meeting. And that's a thought there, Joe.
Yes, sir, that's fine. And the only thing I would kind of footnote that with is I probably will ask for some action at the May meeting so we can start getting this information out on the website and on our publications. But I think we have 4 weeks to kind of let a lot of good ideas and discussion we've had kind of plant the seed and see where we go. I just think it could be really exciting getting people involved, a month or so or even before the event starts. So,
I think
great
so.
idea.
I think it gets them invested in the event and, leads right to Celebrate Wildwood. And maybe that's the final stop on the scavenger hunt. The day of Celebrate Wildwood is on their map or whatever they are using to check off.
Yeah, I could see the final stop being the main stage. And it could be at the start of the event. So we have, let's say, a large group of people to basically participate in the opening ceremonies because they're going to be recognized for participating. So
Find the man with the mustache and the magnifying glass on the day of Celebrate Wildwood. That's it.
Inspector Clouseau.
Well, that's good. I guess then the last item, Joe, is your update sheet of tasks.
yes, Mr. Chair, and thank you. And Kristen put this together for us this month, so I want to thank her for that assist. And to the new members, don't panic. There's a lot of things that say not started. That's typical. You'll see over the course of probably this month and next month, and by the time we reach the start of summer, those will be starting to fill in pretty quickly. So it's a process we're pretty familiar with, but just don't panic. I won't go through it. If there are any questions, Kristen, Travis, and I'd be glad to answer them. But I would say at this stage, other than maybe a couple of items, we're either on schedule or ahead of schedule for 2022. Thank you.
All right. Anything on that item before we close it out? Okay, so I think now is probably a good time for Mr. Vunage's recommendation, right? Just to do some introductions towards the end of the meeting, but I think we actually may have even gotten some an additional person or two since we started. So that's so why don't we take that opportunity for I think everyone to share, who they are, what their role is. If you're at the city, what your role is at the city. And to make it fun, maybe you can share something interesting, your favorite hobby or your favorite ice cream flavor. We might learn something here. So with that, I'm going to hand it off let's start with our commission members. And let's see, I think Ms. Hudson, you're Ward 1, right?
4.
Oh, you're Ward 4.
4.
So do we have Ward 1 here? I'm just going.
Miss Lawson, I think, is
Got
our representative from Ward 1.
Right, then that means that would be Ms. Helfrey's Ward 2. I know that one, right? So go ahead, your turn. And if you have a role or do something with the city already as a volunteer or other board, you could share that.
Okay, well, I'm Vicki Helfrey, and I am also on Planning and Zoning, and I've been on this committee for a couple of years, and I enjoy it. And you will find it that I usually have opinions. Sorry. Oh, and my favorite ice cream flavor. I don't really have a favorite ice cream flavor, but I love coffee, and I'm pretty convinced that heaven might be a coffee plantation. So, okay, that's it.
That's great. And you know what? I had some coffee ice cream just before. They have a flavor at the Main Street Creamery called Jolted Cow. It gives you quite a jolt because it's got coffee and other good stuff. So thank you, Ms. Helfrey. Welcome to the, well, thank you for the introduction. So we've got now Ms. Jaling from Ward 3.
Yeah, my name's Karen Jaling. I just finished, I guess our committee's over for the outreach committee. So I was on that, getting all the different charities and organized into a one place where we can look and find information on different charities in Wildwood. I've been out here for 32 years. The best thing is that all my kids and myself and my husband graduated from the University of Dayton, and Dayton did beat KU this year in basketball. So they were one of the only teams that beat KU this year. So that's my claim to fame. So.
Awesome. Well, welcome to the team. All right, Miss Hudson from Ward 4.
Hi, my name is Sharon Hudson. I was involved with the first art Celebrate Wildwood when they had it with the Boy Scouts and the Historical Society. And then I joined again this past year. So this will be my second year on it. And I guess my favorite ice cream, I kind of like peppermint ice cream. So with chocolate brownies.
Very good. All right. I don't believe we have our Ward 5, Miss Tripp, right? That would be our Ward 5 representative. So we'll go to, let's see, don't think we have Ward 6, right?
Yes, that's Miss Wilson, and she had a work call.
All right. So that brings us to Ward 7, Miss Ferris.
Hello. Well, I'm Holly Ferris. I live in Nantucket, which is part of Ward 7. And I have been pretty much taking a little break from volunteering. I was really involved with the city at one point. I was on council, on different committees. I was also involved a lot with the Wildwood Business Association. I'm recently off of that board. So I've been kind of taking a break for a couple of years. And I thought, I'll step in and see what I could do on this committee. The only experience I have with the Celebrate Wildwood is going as a participant and going with the Wildwood Business Association, because we would have like a booth where our members could give out, their product promotions for their businesses. So I was never really behind the scenes. So whatever you guys need me to do or need me to help with, I'm happy to do so. And
right.
Chocolate's my favorite everything. Yeah.
Chocolate. Well, they have Chocoholic at Main Street. All right. Last but not least, Mr. Siebert from Ward 8.
Hello. Wrong person. Can you hear me? Oh, so my name's Charlie Siebert. My wife and I built a home out here about 26 years ago, right after incorporation. And so we've been residents for quite a while. And the reason I'm on this commission is the mayor suggested that I would be a good fit. I think I'm the token male. So, and I guess that's a good thing. Maybe not. Joe Vunich is a neighbor of ours. He lives down the street a few houses. So it's good to have somebody on the inside.
You mean Mr. Vunich? You said Joe Vunich. Right?
Oh, I'm sorry, Joe Garitano. And I need to start calling everyone by their last name, Mr. Garitano, Mr. Vunich. So please bear with me. And I'm very informal. And my favorite ice cream would be chocolate chip, Mr. Chocolate Chip, for that matter. So anyway, I appreciate being asked. I hope I can be of help. And if I get out of line, just tell Joe he'll walk down and knock on my door because he's right in the neighborhood. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Charlie. And Charlie is no stranger to Celebrate Wildwood because he's been at the events, and I think he even helped with the parade.
I was a judge a couple times. And I was the official photographer, I think, one year, and I failed to mention those. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Mr. Garitano. I appreciate that.
Well, welcome to the team, Charlie, officially. So that now brings us to our city team, right? I think I've gotten everyone. So why don't we go ahead and start with Mr. Vunich?
Well, thank you, Mr. Garitano. My name is Joe Vunich. I'm the Director of Planning and Parks, and I was one of the first 4 employees hired by the city of Wildwood, and actually started working for the city prior to its incorporation, unpaid. Obviously, I've seen a lot of changes. I've met a lot of residents over the years, particularly on our boards, commissions, committees, task force, etc. And I can only say to all of you that volunteer, thank you. I tell people all the time, if we don't have volunteers, we don't have a city. So your help is always appreciated. And ice cream wise, butter pecan.
I like butter pecan too.
Good to know. All right, Mr. Newberry.
Evening, everybody. My name is Travis Newberry. I'm the senior planner here in the Department of Planning and Parks. I've been with the city for about 6 years now. You probably won't see me in these meetings very often, unless Joe says otherwise. But you'll definitely see me on the day of the events because I will be there all day. If we're talking ice cream, I'm going to have to go with salted caramel.
Good to know there, Travis. All right, Miss Kristen.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kristen Nager, and I have been with the city for a little over 2.5 years. I started as the administrative assistant in planning and parks, and now my current title is recreation specialist. And I'm also filling in for Gary as much as I can with him departing. I do live in the southernmost tip of Wildwood. This will be my second Celebrate Wildwood, so it will be fun. And my favorite ice cream is probably birthday cake. Oh. Throwing in a different one. Thanks, guys.
All right, and then we have Officer Steve DeGelder there from our Wildwood Police Department. You're on mute. We can't hear you.
Well, I was trying to get it unmuted. Steve DeGelder, been a police officer this month. I'll be 34 years as a police officer. Only been here 4 years. And I'm not going to do the ice cream thing. I'll just tell you something you didn't know about me. Before I was a police officer, I was an underwater welder. So,
Wow.
Oh.
That is very interesting. We're gonna have to hear some stories.
yeah,
You probably find
Quite
stuff
interesting.
underwater.
quite interesting. Hard work, though.
So, Mr. Chair, could I ask Officer DeGelder a question?
Sure.
Which is more dangerous, underwater welder or a police officer? All of the above.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the underwater welding. Because when it's dangerous, it's pretty dangerous.
Very cool. Well, I guess then that might just leave me. So I will formally, I guess, introduce myself, but I think you all know me by now. So Joe Garitano, and yes, I'm a council member from Ward 8. And well, I already told you, I think, yeah, you already heard my favorite ice cream flavor, which is the Jolted Cow. I love coffee flavored ice creams as well, but they have to be with the sugar cone. I don't like the other cones. The sugar cone is the best. So that's it. Well, I think we got everybody introduced. Hopefully I didn't miss anyone. So great to have everyone together. And thanks for just letting me fill in to help facilitate the meeting. In fact, I don't even know what the new committee assignments will be, because usually after every election, the mayor will then publish a new list of committee assignments. So it's possible I may not be at the next meeting. and there'll be another council liaison member from the city council that steps into the role, but we'll know more, I guess, soon when those assignments are published. So if I don't get to come back, thank you very much for the opportunity to be a part of this team here. And, again, happy to help with that, with the meeting facilitation. I actually quite enjoy it. So we'll then, Mr. Vunich, the next meeting, now that everyone's had an opportunity to meet, I think then we'll put that on the agenda that they determine who will be the chair. The committee members would be able to do that. And I think that's good that everyone got a chance to talk, and it will be an in-person meeting. So that would be even a bonus. So,
Mr. Chair, just to summarize, the next meeting is May 4th. Our meetings are the first Wednesday of each month. This next meeting, May 4th, will be in person, and we'll start a little later. I would offer maybe 6 o'clock so everybody can get home and maybe get a quick change of clothes on and come out, because we'll be walking around outside. So if there's no objection, we'll set it for 6 p.m.
all right. Well, then with that, we just need a motion for adjournment. So does anyone want to make a motion for adjournment? Raise your hand.
I'll make that motion.
All right, I saw a bunch of hands go up. Wow, everyone, no hesitation when it comes to adjournment.
End the meeting.
I saw Ms. Hudson's hand, but who was the second then?
I'll second.
I'm sorry, who was that? Was that Ms. Ferris?
Holly. Mhm.
Yep. All right, so we have a motion on the floor for adjournment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, the meeting is adjourned.
Good night,
Everyone have a
everyone.
good
Good night.